Well, we've reached the end of the road in Scottsdale 2013. All the auctions are over. We've got the totals. I'm Rob Sass.
I'm Donald Osborne.
And I'm Dave Kinney.
Dave, why don't we start with the numbers? All of our predictions at the beginning of the week, woefully low.
We thought $200 to $210 million. In actuality, we have, drum roll please, $223.8 million. So exceeded, I think, everyone's estimates.
Yeah.
I didn't hear anything any higher than our 10 million. So very surprising. That's versus 183 last year. That's a huge jump. We're talking $40 million. I mean, just as an overall, that's a big number.
And with fewer mega cars to do that with as well.
And one less day of auctioneering from RM as well. So let's break down the numbers now. From Barrett-Jackson, we had of 1,340 lots, 1,336 sold at Barrett-Jackson. That's a 99.7% sell-through rate. This year, 102.5 million versus last year's 90.5 million. Now keep in mind that for all of these numbers, they might go up a little bit because there might be additional after sales. RM auctions, 75 of 85 cars sold. That's an 89% sell-through rate. 36.4 versus $25.7 million. Again, a very healthy increase. Gooding sold 101 of 104 cars offered for a 97% sell-through rate. This year's $52.6 million versus last year's $39.8 million. Bonhams, 91 of 112 cars offered sold. That's 81%. Biggest percentage gain, they had 13.4 million versus 6 million last year. Then over at Russo, we have 422 of 710 offered for a 59% sell-through rate. 16 million this year versus 19 million last year. And at Silver, 209 sold of 349 offered. 60% this year, 2.8 billion versus last year's 2.9 million.
And now let's talk about the cars that made up the top of those numbers. Our top 5 sales of the entire Arizona week. And those are the 1958 Ferrari 250 GT California long wheelbase Spider at Gooding, which brought $8,250,000. Over at RM, they also sold the 1960 Ferrari 250 GT short wheelbase Competizione Berlinetta for $8.14 million. Change between them. The Batmobile sold over at Barrett-Jackson for $4.62 million. A 1959 Porsche 718 RSK Roadster sold for $3.135 million at Gooding. And rounding out our top 5, my favorite, the 1957 Maserati 150 GT Spider for $3,080,000.
Well, getting right into bargains, Donald, I think you had that one identified as a bargain, the Maserati 150.
I did, Dave, and the reason for that, even though $3 million, it's hard to call it a bargain. It was a one-off car with the same drivetrain as the legendary 150S sports racing car, and a unique body by Fantuzzi, which looked a little awkward in the catalog, but when you saw it in real life, it just came to life. This wonderful, small, lithe, wonderfully detailed car, just absolutely amazing.
Another bargain you had was over at Bonhams as well, wasn't it? A Ferrari 250 GTE.
Exactly. When Ferraris were really the top numbers on the weekend at $8 million at RM and Gooding, it was shocking, frankly, to see a Ferrari GTE, the same engine as in those two big Ferraris for $8 million, sell for $150,000. That's an incredible bargain for a car with a nice driver, in really good shape, and easily could be sold for another $100,000 and no one would have raised an eyebrow.
Yeah, but it commits the cardinal sin of any Ferrari.
It has too many seats, too many. Rob, you had a bargain coming out of
Barrett-Jackson,
and an American
one from the home
car.
team.
That's right.
My bargain was the green 69 L88 Corvette at Barrett-Jackson that slipped through almost right after the Owens Corning L88 race car that sold for over $1 million. Sold for under $300,000.
You know, maybe that car took so much air out of the room, the Owens Corning car, that no one was paying attention to the other one, and that does happen at auctions. Sometimes people concentrate on something, they bid for it, they try and get it, and then say, hey, it's time to go get dinner when it leaves. So It was a bargain. I think we had Ken Lingerfeller here last night. He was talking about it. He called it a bargain as well, and kind of was a little upset that he didn't raise his hand.
Somebody got a legendary L88 at almost half price. And Donald, there was a blue L88 Roadster at Gooding.
At Gooding that brought $880,000, so that seemed to be correctly market priced.
Yeah.
But to go back to your earlier point, Dave, it's very interesting that the auction companies often program a car that isn't scheduled to be very expensive after a very big car, hoping that the excitement in the room will pull up the next car. But more often than not, everyone is still talking about the last car that sold, and the next one can slip through. And sort of segueing from bargains into trends, we can also see that generally throughout the week, the big American cars weren't as strong as they have been in past years.
There were an awful lot of American car examples that sold for surprisingly low money. A lot of the 1950s cars, a lot of them sold when they were out of their element, did not sell well. So at some of the sales, other than the Barrett-Jackson sale, where they seemed to do pretty well. Of course, pickup trucks, still big news. Everybody wants a pickup truck, and it seems like that market seems to be expanding.
And stock restored, we began to see the restored pickup truck trend with resto mods. These were stocked drivetrain trucks. So people that went out and bought a 1953 Chevy were now going to drive a 1953 Chevy truck.
That's right.
And then that was surprising too, because in years past, Barrett-Jackson was starting to look like the resto mod factory outlet. And these were beautifully restored, very stock pickup trucks, and the crowd responded very well to them.
And also Land Cruisers, Toyota Land Cruisers, lots of big news.
The FJ40 Land Cruisers. What's going on there? There were probably 7 high-quality Toyota FJ40 Land Cruisers?
11 total that was going into it. I think we might have 12 or 13 with some late entries.
At all the different auctions.
Right, and every auction had one, I guess.
Right. Yes.
Everywhere you turned, there was a Land Cruiser. It was just absolutely amazing. And this is last year we had 2 of them, I think. A huge trend for the Land Cruisers coming to auction.
The other trend, of course, that I noticed is fairly obvious, which is that Ferraris were the ticket to have at all these auctions. The Ferrari market is very, very, very strong. People paying ultra top dollar for the best examples. The Dino chairs and flares at Gooding setting a world record for the model at $500,000.
Dinos are more expensive than Daytonas now.
Exactly.
Which is amazing. But it's, it stops at the end of the Enzo era.
But it doesn't seem to me like irrational exuberance yet. Rob, does it to you?
No, it really doesn't. It still tends to be an end-user driven market. Collectors who want to add an Enzo era Ferrari to their collection. And it seems fairly healthy.
And paying for quality. These were very well restored cars that brought the top prices.
Yeah, I hate to repeat it, but for the last few years we've been saying that quality is what people are looking for. Survivor is what people are looking for. In every single price range, those cars did well. From the very, very inexpensive, which in this case might be $20,000, something like that, all the way up to the multi-million-dollar car. People were paying for quality.
Yep.
I think overall, in my estimation, it was clear that it was a very enthusiastic and very aggressive set of buyers here. People felt sort of a sigh of relief that everyone had survived the glimpse of the fiscal cliff and everything was okay, and it was all right to spend money and to go and get what it is that you wanted.
Well, that's it for Scottsdale 2013. Stay tuned to Hagerty for continuing auction coverage throughout 2013 and check out our valuation tools. I'm Rob Sass, publisher of Hagerty Magazine.
I'm Donald Osborne, contributing editor of Sports Car Market Magazine.
And I'm Dave Kitty, publisher of the Hagerty Price Guide. Good night.